Relationships and human connections are deeply emotional and sometimes confusing. One of the most common and frustrating experiences men face is when a woman suddenly becomes distant, quiet, or begins to ignore them. It can feel uncomfortable, even painful, because silence often speaks louder than words. But before jumping to conclusions, it's important to understand that her ignoring you doesn't always mean she has stopped caring or lost interest. In many cases, her silence comes from reasons you may not immediately see, understand, or even consider. Women, like men, communicate not only with words but also with emotions and behavior. When she pulls away, becomes less responsive, or avoids conversations, it can be a sign of something happening within her, not necessarily something wrong with you. Sometimes she ignores you because she is overwhelmed, stressed, or emotionally drained. Other times she may be testing the strength of the relationship, wanting to see whether you notice her silence or make an effort to understand her feelings. At times she distances herself because she wants clarity, either about her emotions or about your intentions toward her. It's also important to understand that women rarely ignore someone without a reason. Even if the reason isn't obvious, it is often rooted in emotional needs, expectations, or boundaries. She may feel unappreciated, unheard, or taken for granted. She may feel that she is giving more than she receives. Or maybe she is simply confused about the direction of the relationship and needs space to think. Her silence could be her way of expressing what she cannot say directly. Men often interpret silence as rejection, but that is not always true. Sometimes she ignores you because she wants you to step up, communicate better, or show maturity. She may want to see if you understand her without her having to explain everything. In some cases, ignoring someone is a self-protection mechanism. If she feels hurt, disrespected, or undervalued, she may distance herself to avoid further emotional pain. Silence becomes her shield. On the other hand, there are moments when her ignoring you is a sign of fading interest, but this is not always immediate or sudden. If communication patterns change drastically over time, if she stops initiating conversations, stops responding with emotion, or seems indifferent, she may be stepping back for reasons tied to compatibility or emotional disconnect. But even then, understanding her silence requires patience, emotional intelligence, and self-reflection. Ultimately, the key to handling such situations is not panic, overthinking, or chasing. Instead, it's about understanding. When a woman ignores you, she is communicating something, either about you, about her feelings, or about the relationship. The more calmly you approach this situation, the easier it becomes to understand what her silence really means. Her silence may be a pause, not an ending. It may be an opportunity to rebuild, reconnect, and grow. And sometimes it is simply a reminder that both people in a relationship need emotional space, understanding, and patience. One of the biggest and most common reasons a woman may ignore you is that she needs emotional space. This doesn't always mean she's upset with you, losing interest, or planning to end the relationship. Emotional space is simply the breathing room a person needs to process their thoughts, recharge their energy, or deal with pressures that have nothing to do with you. Many men misunderstand this, thinking distance means rejection, but in reality, sometimes she pulls away because she wants balance, clarity, and peace within herself. Women are naturally emotional processors. They feel deeply, think intensely, and often carry more mental and emotional responsibilities than they express openly. If she's dealing with stress, whether from work, family, studies, friendships, or personal insecurities, she may go quiet because she does not want to overwhelm you with her problems, Instead of talking immediately, she may choose silence until she feels stronger or more stable. Ignoring you becomes a temporary pause, not a permanent withdrawal. Another reason she needs emotional space is that she may feel emotionally overloaded in the relationship. Sometimes she feels like she is giving too much, trying too hard, or carrying the emotional weight alone. When she feels drained, she naturally steps back to breathe. It's her way of protecting her emotional energy. If she senses that the relationship is becoming too intense, too fast, or too demanding, she may use distance to slow everything down. She may be trying to prevent arguments, misunderstandings, or emotional burnout. Sometimes she needs space because she wants time to reflect on her feelings. Women do not always understand their emotions immediately. She may be confused about what she wants, how she feels about you, or where the relationship is going. Instead of saying something unclear or hurtful, she chooses silence to think. This silence is not a punishment, it's a process. She is trying to understand herself before she speaks to you. Emotional space may also be necessary if she feels pressured. If you message too much, expect instant replies, or constantly ask what's wrong, she may feel suffocated. Even if your intentions are good, too much attention without balance can make her pull back. She ignores you not because she doesn't care, but because she wants the connection to feel healthy, calm, and respectful. When a woman needs emotional space, the best thing you can do is stay calm and give her room without taking it personally. Don't chase, don't demand answers, and don't assume the worst. Instead, continue to be present, supportive, and stable. When she feels emotionally recharged, she will naturally return with clarity and warmth. Understanding her need for emotional space shows maturity. It communicates that you respect her feelings, her process, and her individuality. And most importantly, it strengthens trust. When she knows you can handle her silence with patience, she becomes more open, more secure, and more connected to you in the long run. Another powerful reason why a woman may ignore you is that she feels unappreciated, unnoticed, or taken for granted. Women are emotionally sensitive to effort, both given and received. When she feels that her presence, love, support, or time is not valued, she naturally pulls away. Ignoring you becomes her silent way of expressing hurt, disappointment, or emotional imbalance. Women invest emotionally. They pay attention to the small things, your mood, your habits, your likes and dislikes. They give care, affection, and attention. But when they feel their efforts are not being returned or appreciated, they withdraw. Not because they want to punish you, but because they are protecting themselves from feeling undervalued. When she stops feeling seen or important, distance becomes her way of testing whether her absence will be noticed. Sometimes she feels taken for granted when you stop putting in the same effort you did in the beginning. Maybe you became comfortable, stopped appreciating her gestures, or no longer express the same excitement. Consistency matters to women. If she feels the relationship has become one-sided, she may ignore you not out of anger, but out of emotional fatigue. She wants to see if you will step up when she steps back. Another reason she may feel unappreciated is if she often initiates conversations, plans, or emotional check-ins, and you rarely reciprocate. When she feels she is always the one trying, she will pause to see if you will try without her prompting. Her silence becomes a mirror, showing you the imbalance she has been feeling. Being taken for granted doesn't have to be intentional. Sometimes you may be busy, distracted, or preoccupied, and she interprets that as lack of interest. Women notice when attention decreases, when compliments disappear, or when emotional connection fades. If she feels ignored by your behavior, She may ignore you in return, not out of revenge, but as a silent expression of her emotional needs. In some cases, she may feel unappreciated because her efforts are overlooked. Maybe she supports you, listens to you, stands by you, or sacrifices for you, but rarely receives acknowledgement. Even a simple "thank you," "I appreciate you," or "you mean a lot" can make a huge difference. When appreciation is missing, she begins to feel invisible, and silence becomes her way of communicating that something is wrong. When a woman feels taken for granted, what she wants is not grand gestures but recognition. She wants to feel valued, cherished, and emotionally secure. When she ignores you, she is not asking for apologies or gifts. She is asking for effort. She wants to see consistency, gratitude, and genuine attention. The best response in this situation is to reflect and reconnect. Notice her feelings, acknowledge her efforts, and show appreciation through words and actions. When she feels truly valued again, her silence fades and her warmth returns. Women blossom where they feel appreciated, and distance disappears where effort is consistent. Sometimes a woman ignores you not because she's upset or losing feelings, but because she wants to understand your true level of interest and effort. Women are emotional thinkers, but they are also observant. They pay attention not only to what you say, but to what you do. When she pulls back a little, she watches how you react. This test is not meant to hurt you. It's meant to reveal the real depth of your intentions. Many women have experienced situations where a man shows interest at first, but loses consistency later. Because of this, she may test your effort to see whether your interest is genuine or temporary. Ignoring you for a short period becomes her way of observing your behavior without directly asking questions. Will you reach out? Will you check on her? Will you give up easily? These things tell her more about you than any conversation could. She may also test your reaction to distance because it reflects your emotional maturity. If you panic, overreact, become angry, or start accusing her, it shows insecurity or immaturity. But if you stay calm, respectful, and patient, you show strength and stability, qualities women value deeply. When she ignores you briefly, she wants to see if you can handle moments of silence without falling apart or becoming controlling. Sometimes she steps back to see whether your effort matches her own. If she feels she's the one always reaching out, initiating conversations, planning meetings, or keeping the connection alive, she may give you space to see if you will step up. Silence becomes her way of resetting the balance. If you don't chase or show effort, she interprets it as you not caring enough. But if you take the lead, she feels reassured that the interest is mutual. Another reason she may test you is to see if your intentions are serious or casual. Women don't want to invest emotionally in someone who is inconsistent or unreliable. When she creates a small distance, she watches whether you stay committed or disappear. Your reaction during her silence tells her whether you are there for convenience or for connection. Testing effort is also her way of protecting her heart. She wants to make sure she's not falling for someone who won't show up when it truly matters. This silent test helps her understand whether she can trust you with her emotions. Will you stay steady? Will you communicate respectfully? Will you understand her need for space without taking it personally? The best way to pass this test is simple. Stay genuine, patient, and consistent. Reach out not desperately but sincerely. Show that your interest doesn't disappear when things become uncertain. Show her that you are stable, emotionally mature, and capable of maintaining a connection without pressure. When she feels your effort even during silence, she becomes more confident in you and the relationship. Women test not to play games, but to see the truth. And when your actions match your words, her silence turns into deeper trust and stronger affection. One of the most misunderstood reasons a woman may ignore you is because she is hurt, disappointed, or emotionally affected by something you said or did. But she does not want to create an argument. Women often avoid conflict not because they are weak, but because they dislike emotional chaos. Silence becomes their way of protecting the relationship, avoiding unnecessary drama, and calming their own emotions before they speak. When a woman is hurt, she rarely reacts instantly. Instead, she withdraws. She needs time to process her emotions, understand what she's feeling, and decide how she wants to address it. If she responds immediately while emotional, her words may come out harsh, exaggerated, or misunderstood. So instead of reacting in the moment, she chooses to step back. Ignoring you is not always rejection. It is her way of preventing a situation from becoming worse. Women also ignore when they feel that expressing their pain won't lead to understanding. If she has tried explaining something before and felt unheard, dismissed, or misunderstood, she may stop trying. Silence becomes her shield. She avoids arguments because she knows they drain emotional energy, and she wants to protect her peace. Ignoring you in this case is not to punish you but to protect herself from further hurt. Sometimes she is hurt because she feels disrespected. Maybe you canceled plans without explanation, didn't prioritize her, spoke carelessly, or made her feel unimportant. Even small actions can emotionally impact a woman if they touch her insecurities or her sense of value. When she feels wounded, she steps back to see if you notice the change, if you reflect on what happened, or if you make the effort to correct it. Another scenario occurs when she fears confrontation. If she believes a conversation might lead to arguments, raised voices, or emotional conflict, she may prefer silence. Some women were raised in environments where arguments felt unsafe, so they avoid them altogether. Others simply value peace more than proving a point. Ignoring you gives her time to breathe, think, and avoid letting emotions take over. In some cases, she may not fully understand why she is hurt. Women often feel emotions before they can explain them logically. She may need space to decode those feelings. Until she can express herself clearly, she chooses silence, not to distance from you permanently, but to avoid saying things she might regret. If her silence comes from pain, the solution is empathy, not pressure. Don't chase aggressively, don't demand answers, and don't assume the worst. Instead, gently acknowledge that you sense something is wrong and give her the emotional room she needs. Show patience, not panic. Show care, not control. When a woman feels safe, understood, and respected, she opens up naturally. Her silence will soften when she feels your sincerity. Women don't ignore because they stop caring. They ignore because they care too much, and they want to protect both their heart and the relationship from unnecessary hurt. Sometimes a woman ignores you because she is slowly losing interest or emotionally disconnecting from the relationship. This is one of the hardest truths to accept, but it is also one of the most important to understand. Emotional detachment rarely happens suddenly, it happens gradually. She becomes quieter, her replies become shorter, her energy fades, and her presence becomes inconsistent. Her silence is not meant to hurt you. It's a sign that something inside her is changing. Women detach emotionally long before they physically leave. When a woman begins to feel that the relationship is not fulfilling, that her emotional needs are not being met, or that there is no future in the connection, she quietly steps back. Ignoring you becomes her silent transition. She doesn't fight, she doesn't argue, she doesn't explain. She simply disconnects. Her silence becomes the message she doesn't know how to say out loud. One reason she may lose interest is lack of emotional connection. If conversations become repetitive, dry, or one-sided, she may stop feeling excited. Women crave emotional depth, feeling understood, valued, and connected. Without this, she feels empty, and distance becomes her natural reaction. She slowly stops trying because she no longer feels inspired to engage. Another reason is inconsistency. If you were attentive, caring, and present in the beginning, but gradually became distant or careless, she notices. Women, don't forget the effort you gave at first. If your energy drops significantly, she interprets it as you not caring anymore. When effort becomes inconsistent, interest fades, and when interest fades, silence replaces communication. Sometimes she loses interest because she feels the relationship is stuck. Maybe there's no progress, no clarity, no future plans, or no sense of direction. Women think long term. If she doesn't see growth or commitment, she may step back to avoid wasting emotional energy. Her silence is her way of emotionally preparing herself for the possibility of letting go. In some cases, she may be comparing how she feels around you now versus how she felt before. If she feels less happy, less excited, or less appreciated, she naturally withdraws. Emotional detachment happens when her heart no longer feels the warmth it once felt. Ignoring you becomes easier because her attachment is weakening. It's important to understand that when a woman is losing interest, she doesn't always communicate it directly. She fears hurting your feelings, causing drama, or starting a conversation she's not emotionally ready for. So she chooses silence instead. It's not the healthiest way, but it's the most common. If you notice signs of emotional detachment, cold responses, no initiative, distant behavior, the best approach is honesty and communication. Ask gently if something has changed, give her space, but also show maturity by expressing your willingness to understand and improve. Sometimes the relationship can be saved through effort, communication, and emotional connection. Sometimes it cannot, but ignoring the signs won't help. Awareness, reflection, and sincere effort are what make the difference. When a woman starts losing interest, silence is her final warning. How you respond determines whether she returns or moves on. Another important reason why a woman sometimes ignores you is that she wants to observe your patience, emotional maturity, and ability to handle challenging situations. Women are naturally sensitive to emotional intelligence, and how you respond during silence often speaks louder than words. Ignoring you temporarily can be her way of testing whether you are truly mature enough to handle the ups and downs of a relationship. Patience is one of the most attractive qualities in a man. When a woman creates distance, she notices whether you overreact, panic, or become insecure. A man who chases desperately or becomes overly emotional signals immaturity. On the other hand, a man who remains calm, respectful, and composed demonstrates stability and emotional strength. This patience shows her that you can handle not only silence, but also the emotional fluctuations that naturally occur in any relationship. Emotional maturity is equally important. Women pay attention to how men respond when situations are unclear or tense. If she ignores you, it may be because she wants to see if you can respect her space without pressuring her, accusing her, or assuming the worst. A mature response demonstrates that you value communication and understanding over conflict and control. Women instinctively trust men who can maintain composure under emotional pressure. Sometimes her silence is also a test of consistency. Women want reassurance that your feelings are steady and not just based on convenience or immediate attraction. By ignoring you for a while, she can evaluate whether your interest remains genuine even when she is distant. It's not a game, it's her way of seeing if you are reliable, committed, and capable of sustaining the relationship through challenges. Another reason she may test patience and maturity is that she wants to ensure she is with someone who respects her individuality. Women need space and freedom to process emotions, pursue personal goals, and maintain self-respect. A man who becomes controlling, impatient, or demanding during her silence signals that he may not understand boundaries. Conversely, a man who respects her need for space demonstrates that he values her as a person, not just a partner in the relationship. Responding correctly requires a balance between patience and gentle engagement. It's important not to vanish completely or ignore her in return. Instead, remain consistent, show understanding, and communicate thoughtfully without pressure. Small gestures of care, respect for her boundaries, and calm reassurance go a long way. This demonstrates that your maturity is genuine and not performative. Ultimately, when a woman tests patience and emotional maturity, it is because she wants a strong, steady, and emotionally intelligent partner. She seeks someone who can handle silence, space, and challenges without drama. By responding with patience and maturity, you not only strengthen trust but also deepen the emotional bond. Women are drawn to men who are secure in themselves, consistent in their behavior, and respectful of her emotional needs. Silence in this context is less about distance and more about revealing the true strength of your character. Another significant reason why a woman sometimes ignores you is that she is reflecting on the relationship and evaluating its place in her life. Women are naturally introspective when it comes to emotions, and they often need time alone to think deeply about their feelings, priorities, and the future. Ignoring you temporarily can be her way of gaining clarity before making decisions about her heart and the relationship. Reflection does not mean she has lost feelings or no longer cares. Instead, it shows that she takes relationships seriously and wants to understand her emotions fully. She may be asking herself questions like, "Am I happy in this relationship? Does he understand me? Are we heading in the right direction?" During this period of reflection, silence becomes her tool for emotional processing. She needs space to think without outside pressure or distraction. Sometimes she ignores you because she is assessing compatibility. Women consider not only emotional connection, but also shared values, long-term goals, and personal alignment. She may observe your actions, your consistency, and your behavior during her silence to determine if you match her expectations and can contribute positively to her life. This reflection period helps her make informed decisions about commitment and emotional investment. Another reason for her silence is that she may be trying to weigh priorities. Life often involves competing demands: career, family, friends, personal growth, and emotional health. She may be evaluating how the relationship fits into this complex mix. Ignoring you temporarily allows her to think clearly and prioritize without feeling guilty or pressured. This is not a rejection. It is a conscious effort to maintain emotional clarity. Women also reflect to avoid making impulsive decisions. If she feels uncertain about the relationship, she may fear that talking immediately could lead to misunderstandings, arguments, or emotional reactions that she will later regret. Silence gives her the space to process her emotions rationally and reach conclusions with a clear mind. It is her way of protecting herself and the relationship from potential mistakes. During this period, her actions are usually subtle. She may check in occasionally, respond slowly, or remain neutral in communication. This gives you an opportunity to observe her patterns and understand her emotional state. It also gives you time to reflect on your own behavior and assess whether you are meeting her emotional and relational needs. The best way to handle this situation is with patience, understanding, and respect. Pressuring her for answers or becoming frustrated will only prolong her silence and increase distance. Instead, provide emotional support from a respectful distance, maintain consistent behavior, and show that you are dependable and understanding. This approach demonstrates that you are serious about the relationship and capable of handling uncertainty with maturity. When she completes her reflection, her decision, whether to reconnect, strengthen the bond, or move on, will come from clarity, not confusion. Women value men who allow them space to think while remaining emotionally available. Her temporary silence is a sign that she cares enough to reflect carefully, making her eventual choice more thoughtful, meaningful, and authentic. Understanding this helps you respond wisely, respect her process, and strengthen the foundation of your connection. Understanding why a woman sometimes ignores you is not just about interpreting her behavior. It's about developing emotional intelligence, patience, and respect in a relationship. Silence can feel painful, confusing, or even threatening, but it is often a natural response to her emotions, her needs, or her reflections on the relationship. Recognizing the reasons behind her behavior can help you respond wisely and strengthen the bond, rather than creating distance or misunderstandings. One of the most important lessons is that her ignoring you does not always equate to disinterest or rejection. Often, it is a signal that she needs space, emotional support, or clarity. Whether she is processing her emotions, feeling unappreciated, testing your effort, protecting herself from hurt, or reflecting on the future, her silence is a form of communication. Learning to interpret this communication with empathy and maturity is crucial. Instead of overreacting, blaming, or chasing impulsively, you must approach the situation with patience, understanding, and self-reflection. Responding appropriately means giving her space without withdrawing entirely. It's about maintaining balance, showing her that you respect her need for distance while remaining consistent, dependable, and emotionally present. Small gestures of care, thoughtful messages, and calm reassurance can go a long way. Women notice not only your words, but also your behavior and consistency, and how you handle silence often has a bigger impact than any conversation. Emotional maturity, patience, and genuine care demonstrate that you are capable of supporting her emotionally, even during uncertain times. Another key takeaway is self-reflection. When she ignores you, it is an opportunity to evaluate your own behavior. Are you showing enough appreciation? Are you consistent in your effort? Are you listening and responding to her emotional needs? Her silence can highlight areas where growth is needed, both for yourself and for the relationship. By reflecting on your actions and adjusting thoughtfully, you show that you value the connection and are committed to improvement. It is also essential to understand boundaries. Respecting her space does not mean being passive or disconnected. It means giving her room to breathe, think, and feel without pressure or judgment. A healthy relationship requires mutual respect, emotional awareness, and patience. By honoring her boundaries while maintaining your presence thoughtfully, you build trust and allow emotional intimacy to grow naturally. Ultimately, silence in a relationship is not a sign of weakness or failure. It is a chance for both partners to pause, reflect, and strengthen their emotional understanding. When handled with empathy, patience, and care, periods of distance can lead to deeper communication, renewed connection, and stronger emotional bonds. Women value men who can handle challenges calmly, demonstrate consistency, and respect their emotional needs. In conclusion, A woman ignoring you is rarely random or meaningless. It is her way of expressing needs, emotions, or reflections that she cannot always verbalize. By approaching her silence with understanding, patience, and emotional intelligence, you not only gain insight into her feelings, but also grow as a partner. Respect, consistency, and genuine care transform temporary silence into an opportunity for growth, trust, and deeper love. Understanding her actions and responding wisely strengthens the relationship and creates a connection that is more resilient, meaningful, and lasting.